The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi.
Hello. Hello.
So, Phil, we're doing something we haven't done in a while.
Yeah. Well, we're doing something we've never done before.
Wait, are we?
Well, we've never done a demon mailbag before.
That's true. Would you like to describe what makes up this mailbag?
I'll tell you what. I'll set the table.
And I'll deliver the food.
Pretty much it.
Okay. All right.
'Cause I assume you have the emails right in front of you.
I do.
Okay. Okay. We got two separate emails.
It's true. One in May and one in June.
One in May and one in June from someone asking us mailbag questions. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy and I encourage you to write into secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com. That's secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com. We invite you to write into secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com and ask us any question you'd like about movies. You can ask us about other things, but we probably won't answer them.
It's true.
Because it's a movie podcast, so get your life together.
Yep.
But we received an email and had not had a chance to respond to it appropriately, and then received another email from the same writer, a listener of the show, and decided we would answer both of this writer's questions. But I don't want to say anything else, Andy, until you read the questions.
Okay. Shall we just dive in?
Well, we can. I'm sure there will be plenty of comments after the reading of the first question.
Indeed.
Go ahead.
From Bat Demon. First name, Bat Demon.
First name, Bat Demon.
Second name, family name. Surname, American. Bat
Brilliant.
Demon American. He writes, "Hey there. Long-time listener, first-time writer. Second Breakfast has become one of my favorite things to listen to while I am waking up and getting in my yoga at home in my cave in the morning. Got to look my best for those auditions. Anywho, I wanted to ask you guys about monster movies. As a Bat Demon, I try to take pride in my heritage and appreciate these films, even though they do cause typecasting issues for me as I try to make a career as a working actor. It can be a true challenge to get a casting director to look past the fangs, so to speak, and see that, yes, I am classically trained and would be perfect for their rom-coms and high school dramas. Bat Demon. Rom-com? Really? Honestly.
We don't approve.
Sigh. That's not me sighing, although I could be sighing. That's Bat Demon American sighing. Sigh. But I digress. I heard you guys talking about Godzilla, and it got me thinking about monsters in movies. My question for you is, which is what each of you consider the definitive movie monster, the one that best captures the genre, as well as what monster has scared you the most personally? They might be the same or they might be different, So I figured I'd give you options. That's it. That's my question. Look forward to hearing the discussion. Regards." And then he gives his actual name. Bat Demon American's actual name. I'm going to spell it first.
Go ahead.
ZCHQXXXXBLORD. And then a parenthetical statement. "If you do not speak demon, my name is typically pronounced Quartzblub. The ZCH is silent." Did you know Gmail won't let you use your real name if it doesn't have enough vowels? Quartzblub, I did not.
No, neither did I.
Hence the Bat Demon American signature. Oh, so he's not of the Pittsburgh Americans.
Right?
Or the East
Hampton
Americans. Right. Huge pain when booking flights, let me tell you. P.S. Phil, I thought you were great as the snowman in that movie about the hot Swedish twins. Keep up the great work.
You're welcome. Yeah, I do my best work when acting as a snowman. It's always been my best.
Right. You do your best work around hot Swedish twins.
So here we go, folks. We have two emails from a guy named Quartzblub. Now, I want to take a moment.
Do you?
to say Thank you for writing in, Quartz Blub, and I'm glad that our demographic is not just human, and that it's reached beyond that. I'd also like to say, I don't want this email to discourage normal human beings from writing into us.
Right.
I just want to say that out loud. That's all. I just want to. I want. People are going to hear this and go, "Wow, do I have to be a demon or some other kind of species with a crazy name to write into Second Breakfast Podcast?" And I just want to assuage some of your fears. No, you don't. That being said, good question, Quartz Blub.
It's true. We did not pick this question in some sort of like demon versus human affirmative action.
No,
we picked
that's
this question
true
because it's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I have an answer for it. I certainly have a thought process.
I have two answers, Andy, and I want to see what you think.
I love this. So just to be clear, the two questions.
Go ahead.
That you might be answering differently are: what's the definitive movie monster, and what scares you the most personally?
Okay. So my two answers are for the first question: what's the definitive movie monster?
Okay.
And I want to say this. They are, since there's two, there might actually. I sneezed. Pardon me. Since there's two, it might actually mean that there's zero. I don't because I can't
If you have two starting quarterbacks, you have none. Right.
That's right. Or as someone pointed out, since I gave my child two middle names, he essentially has no middle name.
That's fair.
Because he has four names. So it's like, what's your middle name? Nope.
Right, but middle name isn't the same as like the name that's the arithmetic mean.
I know. Okay. So okay. To me,
yes.
I'm just gonna
Yes.
I think a horror movie character. I'm sorry. I think a horror movie monster, has to be scary. Has to be threatening to our lives. But I think it also, on a mythological level, the best monster movies are supposed to tell us something about ourselves.
Yep.
And therefore, even though there are monster movies where the monsters are like giant ants or like
The
Blob, or what's that movie, The Mist? That's the one. That's the Frank Darabont one, right? Like the Stephen King Frank. Okay. Totally acceptable horror movies, absolutely a real thing, all that.
Yep.
And I almost want to say zombie, but I'm not gonna. I think there needs to be something that resembles us, which is actually the potency, one of the beautiful things about zombie movies. But horror movies, when they're at their best, they make us look at ourselves, and they take something that's sort of human, but just puts a twist on it enough that it makes it grotesque, and it's really a commentary on the grotesqueness of humanity.
Indeed.
But okay, so to me, the Frankenstein's monster might actually be the sort of the archetypal one, back from the dead,
right?
Man's folly, dangerous, enough like us that it's like us, but not enough that it's not. And it addresses, as many horror movies do, but Frankenstein addresses it like very explicitly and specifically. It addresses this thing: we are afraid of death. Now, all horror movies essentially are about our fear of death. Okay, our fear of death and our fear of ourselves. Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster speaks not just implicitly but directly to those two issues. So on that end, I would almost say Frankenstein's monster. Do you know what's holding me back from saying Frankenstein's monster?
Because he's not evil.
Andy, that is exactly the reason. He is not evil.
Right.
And it's why I'm gonna honestly, I think the Universal monsters, like the originals, have something to them. If you put them all together, you have something. Dracula is interesting, but it's not Dracula.
Just a real quick, so what Phil means by that is the Mummy, Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein's monster.
I was also thinking of the sea creature. What do you call it?
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Kind of.
Okay.
And now I'm going to throw this out there. I was thinking as a joke to say this.
Okay.
And then I started to think about it. I've never seen the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I've seen a good portion of it, but not all of it.
I'm going to throw this in there with Frankenstein's monster as my other choice for these two specific reasons.
Okay.
One, the Creature from the Black Lagoon is evil.
Sure.
It kills for no purpose. And well, no, here's some other important things about it. Unlike Frankenstein's monster and Dracula, it cannot be communicated with. It cannot. It does not. There's no language.
It will not stop ever until
will not
you are dead.
All of those things,
Yeah.
like it will not. It fulfills the zombie thing to some degree in that sense. Like it's we don't. And here's a big one for me from a mythological standpoint. It comes from the water, and in ancient days, all of the water, the sea, not just like the nice little brook, the sea. And the ocean and the lagoon, they represent chaos and death and fear. And so for something to come out of that and to grab us and take us, that all being said, it sounds like a boring movie and I don't want to watch it. But so that's why it doesn't fit the category. But
sure,
the creature from the Black Lagoon and Frankenstein's monster, to me, somehow they are laying the groundwork for what an essential horror movie monster must have.
I love it.
Neither of them is definitive, and that's why I say both 2 equals 0. That's the problem.
I love
0. Neither is math.
I love everything about this. You saying this helped me crystallize my answer to this first question. I didn't want my answer to be zombies either. But of course, my answer is zombies, and I'll tell you why. And in so doing, I'll sort of talk about your answers, but which I love and are obviously totally valid. But let's back up for a second and let's talk about the four big 4+, because Creature from the Black Lagoon. I'm not actually sure if that's universal. But it might be. But let's talk about. But I don't have anything to add to Creature from the Black Lagoon. I think you did that well.
Thank you.
But just for those who have never seen any of the original movies or read any of the stories, they are based on Frankenstein's monster. Because I think the best thing you said, Phil, was it's got to hold. All horror movies have to be in some sense about humanity. Like it has to be, it has to be showing us what's scary about ourselves. And Frankenstein's monster, fear of death, but also fear of the overreach of science, of creating something you can't control, and fear of the unknown. I mean the reason Frankenstein is a tragedy as much as it is a horror movie is that the monster is doomed by misinformation and misunderstanding. Dracula, vampires. It's the grotesque sort of running rampant of sexual urges. It's there's something very seductive about the vampire myth. The Wolfman is. The Wolfman is sort of the baser urges, sort of like what happens if society breaks down and we give in to our baser urges that are not necessarily sexual, just sort of the brutality of man, if you will.
Yep.
And then the Mummy, I think the metaphors kind of fall apart there, but there are religious aspects to it. Sort of the horror.
Don't think some things are sacred.
Yes.
And when you mess with them, they kill you.
Yes.
And it plays into the zombie thing that you're going to talk about. But I mean, the Mummy is completely slow moving and yet unstoppable.
So this is definitively not my answer for the second question that Quartzblub asks, which is which one it scares me the most. Although they do scare me. But zombies, I'm going to piggyback on your answer, but I'm going to take it further because zombies are my answer. The mythology about zombies, they hold a mirror up to ourselves, and in the hands of the right director, or frankly, because George Romero isn't necessarily the greatest director in the world, even the wrong director sometimes with a good idea, they are so broad and honestly so boring in and of themselves. They can be used. The mirror can be tilted to any aspect of humanity that we want, right?
Yeah.
In Night of the Living Dead, they are it's an allegory for God, the domino theory of communism in Southeast Asia, white flight into the suburbs. Like, there's just a lot going on there. In Dawn of the Dead, it's rampant consumerism. In Day of the Dead, it's the fear of, like, the military-industrial complex under Reagan. In Shaun of the Dead, it's the sort of the ennui of the new millennium. Like, I'm getting older and I've done nothing with my life. Right. In Fido, it's
Shaun of the Dead might be the definitive Generation X movie.
I agree with you. It
ain't Reality Bites, I'll tell you that right now.
Right. Agreed. So that's why I'm going to go with it being definitive, just because it can do anything.
I think it's probably the right answer. I'm not ready to say it's the right answer, but it's probably, and I think almost just because I'm like contrarian and don't want to jump on the zombie trend, even though I watch all the zombie stuff and I'm with you totally, and I don't want to be the guy who says I liked zombie stuff before it was cool.
You did.
I did though. And I did, and I can say that only because I did because of you, because you totally liked zombie stuff before it was cool and got me into it. So like, I don't even feel bad saying that, you know.
Anyone with hipster cred seeking my bona fides hipster cred should email secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com and address their email to Phil, forevermore known as my management. Go ahead.
You're welcome, management. Here's the deal, though, and I want to say this that you didn't say, but I think is true. Okay, please. When zombies actually get to you, what they do is horrifying. And that is important.
Horrifying.
I think it is why it's almost like they are somehow Frankenstein plus the Mummy plus the creature. They're not really plus Wolfman and Dracula.
It's true.
But I think vampires are a whole other interesting thing.
Except that there is the aspect of both the Wolfman and not Dracula necessarily specifically, but that like when they get you, they turn you into themselves.
That's a very good point, Andy. It's a phenomenal point. Yeah, that's a very fair point. So I mean, essentially, you kind of with zombies have. I mean, you do have the biting and the. So yeah, you know what? I'm with you, and I think this is what kills me. It might be the right answer. It kills me that not very many good movies have actually been made.
It's true.
That maybe Shaun of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, and Dawn of the Dead are the only good ones. There are other sort of ancillary or stuff.
There are many zombie movies that have good moments in it, and you know, as horror movies go, sometimes good moments are all you can ask for.
It's not a zombie movie, folks. But I mean, I think in the zombie related genre, Andy and I are going to be talking about a movie called The Crazies in a couple of weeks, and it's also not a zombie movie. But Andy and I talked about it like literally when one of our first podcasts was about 28 days later, and it is not a zombie movie, but it is in the zombie tradition.
Yep.
And so there's ways you can go around that. But anyway, so zombie. Okay, so Andy and I agree. Zombie is the definitive answer.
There's something else that I want to speak to, because I just love the point you made about holding a mirror up to ourselves, and that is, you know, what is one of the tropes of the zombie genre, which The Crazies deals with, which 28 Days Later deals with.
Yep.
Is there is always a moment where someone, like you as the viewer, like, what are you doing? You're such an idiot. Walks towards a zombie and tries to hug it or fix it or cure it or something. And it is because it's not a metaphor. This zombie actually is a loved one. It is the thing that they used to love. And
yes.
That is you know, I mean, I don't know if it would sustain an entire movie, and I don't know if you could do it without being inappropriate. But perhaps like there's a domestic violence aspect that I don't think has ever been explored in a zombie movie, and it might be something interesting to do. You know, the Jekyll and Hyde.
I'm going to go ahead and say that outside of the Lifetime network, domestic violence is not something that's really explored in movies.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, it's really because people don't know how to explore it.
Right.
It's not you have to condemn it, which I agree with. You should condemn it.
Right.
But I don't think it's something that we know how to deal with.
Right. So until so the closest we've come is Mother, May I Sleep with Danger.
And I was in a play sophomore year that Andy saw, which was by a guy by the name of Israel Horovitz, and it's called, the heck was the name of that play?
Unexpected Tenderness?
That's the one, Unexpected Tenderness. Thank you. And in the play, there's a husband and a wife, and it's a semi-abusive relationship, or it's a verbally abusive relationship, and then the husband is. But at one point in the movie, the husband actually crosses the line, or in the play, the husband crosses the line and actually, although he crossed the line, I should say verbally and all the other ways, but he finally breaks through that barrier and hits his wife, and spoiler, like in the end of this play, she leaves him. Like, it's the end of it is her, like, leaving him.
It's true.
And we had this forum in college afterwards, and we were talking about, like, there was actually, like, a discussion about, because it's college, so this is what you do. You do a play about abuse, and then you talk, we need to have a forum. So there's a forum, and someone was like, well, statistically, women don't actually leave the husbands that abuse them, at least not after the first time, statistically. So this play is not actually, and it was just like, ugh.
Well, thank you for introducing, like, the pedantic nature of college to. I know. I'm sorry, but it's interesting. No, I'm saying that to the person.
How do we? Right. How do we make movies that have these conversations about domestic abuse? Maybe the answer is to make it so separated that it's a zombie movie. I mean, that might be the way. I mean, how do you have conversations about racism? How do you have conversations? You can make a movie about racism. Andy and I are going to talk about a movie called Snowpiercer later on, not today, and but soon in an upcoming episode. And it's like, how do you talk about classism?
Right.
How do you talk about totalitarianism? I mean, I guess you could just make a movie that's about those things, or you could like make a parable. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Horror movies are meant to be parables.
Yes, it's interesting because the one thing that the zombies can't do, I mentioned, I just blurted it out a couple minutes ago, the Jekyll and Hyde thing. The thing about Jekyll and Hyde that was so beautiful was that he turned back and forth between the two. Yes. And once you go zombie, you don't go human, right?
I wish there was a way to make that rhyme, but that's correct.
That's right.
Don't try. I'm trying so hard.
No, I know, right?
Zombie? But
once you go zombie, you don't go Jason Zombie.
All right. What's the scariest?
Stand by. Except for Warm Bodies, but that wasn't really a zombie movie so much as a Jesus allegory. So,
I know, I love it so much. Oh my God.
I know you do.
The Christian allegory in Warm Bodies is the greatest thing ever. All right. So what's the scariest then for you? It might be the bad guy in True Detective. I'm just going to let you know.
Oh my God. Right.
You know what? Let me say something about that.
Okay.
I'm not going to spoil the movie. It might be the bad guy in True Detective, and let me say why. Let me tell you why.
Tell me why.
The scariest thing are actually not monsters. The scariest thing are when they take people. Okay? Freddy Krueger is terrifying.
Yes.
But I'm not worried about someone killing me in my dreams.
Sure.
Michael Myers is scary in the first one because that's a human being.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So and Jason Voorhees' mother is much more scarier than Jason.
Yes.
So like I think that's serial killers are. Buffalo Bill is terrifying. I mean, I'm not a large woman, so I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, probably.
She was a big girl. She was
a big girl. She's a big girl. Large through the hips, roomy.
Wait. Was she a great big fat person?
Okay. So, but we have to joke because serial killers are terrifying.
We have to joke because terrifying.
So, I mean, I think that's the thing. I think for me, any movie with a serial killer or abductor, those are they're not be monsters by the definition that Quartz Club is suggesting, but those are to me the scariest things, much scarier than the other stuff.
I agree with you. So maybe Ray Fiennes in Schindler's List, because he was straight up terrifying. If I'm going to restrict it to monsters, I might go with maybe the only truly worthy addition to the monster pantheon of the past, say, 40 years, and that would be the xenomorph from Alien.
Oh, well done.
I mean,
Okay.
that thing is terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying. It's terrifying in a female way and a male way, and all I'm going to say is there's imagery that suggests both. Throw it out there.
I'm also scared of I'm also scared of vampires, real vampires, not the Twilight vampires.
Right.
And here's because they seem at nighttime like you're done. Like there's no actual. I mean, I grew up on the movie The Lost Boys, and they like straight up get into your house, and that's terrifying.
Yes,
they just straight up break into the guys' their houses, yes. And I mean, I
Does
won't
none
spoil
of this
Lost
have to be invited in or what?
Kind of,
right.
but still, it's just terrifying.
Yes.
Or even if they do, I mean, like you watch Fright Night, and it's like, especially the second one, he's like, "Oh, you want to invite me into your house? I'll blow your house up." That's I mean, right. It's like right. So, and then you'll be outside of your house, and then I'll kill you. I mean, Fright Night, the remake of Fright Night, I loved it, but it reminded me of what's scary about vampires, and from a religious standpoint, as you look at the history of vampires. And there was a religious element to them. I mean, they were quite often seen as demons. And one of the sort of larger narratives within vampirism is that, I mean, like a vampire, when they turn vampire, they die, but their soul is condemned. So like they are demons in that sense. Like they aren't. There's this eternal nature to what a vampire becomes. Yes. That a vampire wants to stay alive. Not just because it wants to stay alive, but because in the assumption that there's an afterlife, the vampire consciously knows it doesn't get to go to the good place. So like there's something like anti-God about a vampire. There's something whereas you can contextualize the hell out of Frankenstein's monster. Just be like, no one's evil, it was a bad idea, he shouldn't have done it. I'm not saying it was a good idea, but you can see what he was trying to do. Right. Think of the implications. With vampires, it's just they're evil monsters, and that are yet somehow seductive to us.
Yes.
And that is a fascinating idea, and scares me.
That's fair.
Because mostly because of Kiefer Sutherland in The Lost Boys.
Oh. Yep.
That's all.
I like it.
I used to take my garbage. I was the one who had to take the trash out at night to the front porch.
Yeah.
Or to the front lawn, and I'd think about that scene in Lost Boys when the security guard was walking to his car at night in the middle of the night, and they all just came down out of nowhere and like didn't eat him in a nice way.
That's right.
Head biting, whatnot. They
didn't snap the head off the gingerbread man to make it quick, and then no.
So that I always used to think about that when I was like carrying my garbage cans out, but
nice.
But really a serial killer. Anyways,
I think
it's a terror. Can we talk about something else?
Like anything?
Next question.
Guess
what, everybody? We have another letter from Quartz Blub.
From Batman American from Quartz Blub. Hey there, me again. I had another idea for a mailbag question. I know you haven't gotten around to my first question yet. Whoa, tough guy.
No pressure, Annie Wilkes.
Right. I'm your biggest fan. I'd like to change both the answers I just had to Annie Wilkes. I know you haven't gotten around to my first question yet, and that's okay, although I do hope it isn't because of any concern over the whole I'm an 8-foot-tall bat demon thing. Really, the whole demon part is really a misnomer. I'm only really demon on my mother's side, and there's no interest at all in getting into the family business. I don't really even eat people, mostly because I try to live gluten-free. It just makes me feel all run down and lethargic. You humans and your cheeseburgers, do you have any idea how hard it is to try and find gluten-free people? So not worth it.
Oh my gosh. He eats people now.
Right, here's the deal, Quartz Club. I'm not going to give you points for not eating people if your reason for not eating people is because of the food coma afterwards. I'm going to go
even further. I'm not going to change the way I eat just so when you slaughter me and eat my flesh, you feel better. That's not a thing I'm going to do.
I like both of what we just said.
I might eat more gluten.
That's right. I want to stick in your craw. Look, down.
Andy, it's a big box of gluten. All right, go ahead.
The problem is now he's going to eat me first, which is right.
So it's the downside.
Regardless, I liked your podcast on the airplanes and the writing on the airplanes. Slight digression, don't even get me started on flying. Try sitting on an aisle sometime and explaining to the window guy the light might turn you to stone. And no legroom. No thanks. I'll just wing it. See what you did there, Quartz Blood. I like it.
Boy.
And you mentioned superhero movies a couple times. It got me remembering my favorite superhero movie, Steel.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
My dear friend Shaq was so good in that. When he starts swinging the big hammer and says, "Hammer time," it always just cracks me up. I've just about worn my tape out. By the way, what's your take on these DVD things? Should I convert? This got me thinking about pro athletes in movies. Outside of Shaq, who was your favorite athlete who made the jump from the field to the screen? What athlete today do you think has the best chance of a second career? And finally, if you had to cast a current athlete in a superhero movie today, what athlete would you pick and in what role? Feel free to recast an existing hero. It happens all the time. Okay, enough for now. Keep up the great work. Quartz Blood. Oh, and I definitely want to hear the spider story. I love spiders. Was that mine? Was that the...
Yeah, yes.
I'll think about it. You tell me at the end.
Yeah, we'll think about it. Yeah. First of all, you laughed when he said outside of Shaq, but Shaq in Blue Chips was not a bad performance.
That's true. Hold up. Somebody owes me $100. Remember when he's like, because I got the score on the SAT that I needed.
I mean, there's not a lot of really good examples of pro athletes going into film, and I mean, you really the best that I know of.
Yes.
Well, see, this is the problem. It's O.J. Simpson and Naked Gun, but no one wants to talk about that anymore because of what we know now about O.J. Simpson.
Yes.
And so we default towards Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Airplane.
Sure. I might go with. I might go with Jim Brown in Dirty Dozen.
I'd go with Jim Brown, and I'm going to get you, sucker.
Sure.
Oh, you're right. Well said, Andy Rock.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh.
He was also in The Running Man, like...
Jim Brown really transcended the genre. And by genre, I mean sport.
The genre of sport.
Of sport. So it might be Jim. So let's say Jim Brown. I'm still gonna say O.J. Simpson.
Sure.
Again, I get why it makes it impossible to watch Naked Gun anymore.
Right.
But nevertheless, when it happened, it was phenomenal.
Yes.
And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Airplane. But I think Jim Brown is a really good pick as well.
You will.
Who
I
else?
also got to throw out some love for The Rock. I think he is good.
So we're gonna talk about the world of sports entertainment, including as athletes. I'm comfortable with this. I just want to know.
I think we can and we should. And also, he was not. I don't want to say well known. He was not an unknown college football player as well. But of course, he didn't get his start in acting because of. If
we're opening up the field to the arena of sports entertainment, which is what they call professional wrestling.
Yes,
buddy, the Pandora's box is open because not even getting into John Cena in 13 rounds. I'd like to talk a little bit about Rowdy Piper in They Live.
Yep.
Just phenomenal, and Hulk Hogan in No Holds Barred with Tiny Lister. I mean, these are things that need to be brought up.
And of course, again, Rowdy Piper in the seminal movie. Seminal movie, Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Which it probably does.
It did. He did.
It did.
His name was Sam Hell. Do you see what they did there?
Wait, hold on. Explain it to me.
It just works on it's levels, man. So many levels. I also, and you haven't seen this movie yet, but you're gonna love it when you do. Batista is.
Oh, I can't wait.
He's great in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think we have to have a separate category for wrestlers. I really do. Because
I agree with you.
I think the world of sports entertainment lends itself to being in movies a lot more because so much of their job is a performance.
Totally fair.
So Big Show and MacGruber and Chris Jericho's been in some stuff. There's just a lot more of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So
that's fair.
I think the problem, Quartz Blood, is that you don't really see a lot. I mean, that's just what's really interesting is the template he threw down is Shaq.
Mm-hmm.
No, and what is interesting about that is Shaq is an athlete who attempted to become a film star. Mm-hmm. So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a cameo in even if it's an extended cameo
It's
or whatever
cameo,
you want to call it, or a bit
that's fair.
part,
Yeah,
a bit
yeah.
part.
Agreed.
I mean, technically he has another name, but so he's actually another character.
Right.
But it's not, it's sort of like saying who's your favorite actor in a Robert Altman movie, and then picking like a cameo from the player. Like you can't,
Right.
like it's like picking John McEnroe in Anger Management. First of all, you're picking
Right.
anything from Anger Management, which makes you a mistake of a person.
It's true.
But then on top of that, it's not the main role. So
Yeah.
what he does is actually great, because it's like Shaq, maybe not in that terrible movie, but I mean, again, in Blue Chips, like he's just a guy playing a role.
Yeah, that's true.
Whoever played Jimmy Chitwood, I think, was a real basketball player as well. Just kidding. No, just kidding.
I'll make it.
I'll make it. I believe that Kathy Ireland really was a place kicker, and before she played in Necessary Roughness.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I could be wrong.
Uh-huh.
So I think with that in place, I think I'm going to go with you on Jim Brown.
Yeah.
You can say Jim Brown for Dirty Dozen, and I will say Jim Brown for I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
Nice.
And we'll both be right.
I love it. I love everything about that.
Now, the next part of the question is what at current athlete do we want to see play a movie? Is that
Sure. I mean, so I gotta go Homer for at least my first pick. I'm a Houston Texans fan, and you know what? I would watch J.J. Watt play Captain America.
oh
Yeah, that's right. I went there. Oh yeah. Yeah. Also because his main thing, he does everything, but his main thing that sets him apart, because he gets sacks, but all defensive linemen get sacks, but he like Captain America has the shield, and J.J. Watt's thing is swatting down passes that he shouldn't get to.
I love it.
See what they did there?
Okay. Remember how like in the 80s they'd make all these teenage movies where like the boyfriend there was like the guy who liked the girl.
Yep.
And she was with another guy, and that guy was just a terrible person.
Just an awful.
Which
human being.
is perfectly parodied in Wet Hot American Summer, by the way.
Yeah, agreed.
Which I watched the other day for the first time in a while, and my wife was like, okay, and just left. And I just sat there watching. I was like, I don't even care. I gotta watch the whole thing. I watched the whole thing. But anyways, and the guy, the main guy, cheats on his girlfriend, is, if not physically abusive, that's generally they wouldn't go there in 80s movies, but like just sort of intimidating and weird and uncomfortable, but apparently is so good at whatever sport he plays and so entitled that no one cares.
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying is Kobe Bryant would be perfect for, I'm going to be a homer too because he's a Laker. I think Kobe Bryant would be perfect to play an 80s teen. He'd have to shave his face,
right.
But an 80s teen boyfriend. I think he'd be phenomenal in that role. Cheats on his wife, possibly does some things that are illegal and awful, but hey,
But he's really good at X.
He's really good at what he does, and he changed his
Right.
number. Oh, I'm sorry. You think 24 might have hurt somebody? No, that was 8. That was 8.
Nice.
I can see why you would make that mistake.
Nice. Kobe Zabka Bryant. I love.
I love that. I love what you did. I'm trying to think honestly about what kind of athlete actually has that kind of charisma and presence. It would have been interesting to have seen Bo Jackson go this direction after his.
Yeah.
It's too late now.
Yeah. Yes. But if he had had a more traditional career, like not one derailed by injuries, if his star.
But I mean,
had
that's what I'm
kept
saying is
going up,
if the moment he had been derailed by injuries,
he had switched. Yeah. No. that's
just
fair.
immediately and started playing athletes in movies.
That's
like
fair.
that would have been amazing. And
That
I think he
would
had
have
his presence was there. He had that.
He really is. Folks, I feel like a lot of our viewership and listenership might be too young to remember, and to a certain extent, you and I are too young to really remember Bo Jackson,
Right.
as Bo Jackson. But he was like, he's in the conversation for best athlete of our lifetime.
Yeah. He'll never have the numbers for it because he just wasn't around long enough. But when you look at what he was capable of, you're like, there's just nothing
Yes.
to compare that to.
Yes.
In
two sports. In
it's just
two of them.
It's just. What's the name of that guy who does the State Farm commercials where he plays himself and his twin brother?
Chris Paul.
I'd love to see Chris Paul in a comedy right now.
Yes, that's fair.
I don't know him personally.
That's fair.
I don't watch the basketball.
Mhm.
He is adorable. and seems
Sure.
very funny to me.
I agree. I agree with that.
So I'd like to see where that goes. And then really, but the problem is, athletes aren't really that. Their charisma is generally in what they're able to do on the.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be hard for them to rise above that. I mean, one thing you want to find, like a guy like Chris Paul would be great because you can't have, if David Ortiz is going to be in a movie, he's got the charisma, but he's never going to transcend his poppiness.
He's going to be charismatic as David Ortiz.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Chris Paul. That's my answer is Chris Paul.
I like it. I like what you did there. Also Homer because he plays in LA, but
yeah,
I love it. I love it. Are we good?
I think so. It's a good. Listen.
I'm not bringing this up because I need the answer to be yes. Am I telling the spider story?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Oh God.
Very, very quickly.
Okay.
So I am terrified of spiders.
Okay.
And
so am I, Andy. So am I.
And I'm not going to say that my arachnophobia, and it's not arachnophobia. I don't get paralyzed. It's not an actual phobia from the clinical definition. Really?
Mine.
Might be.
It might be. I'm no doctor.
Sure. They bother me. Clearly, I'm becoming all flustered. I'm not going to say that mine is more valid or more legitimate than Phil's or anyone else's who doesn't like spiders, but I will say this. I do have a precipitating event, all right? And again, it doesn't make my fear of them more valid. It's just the reason that I have, okay? I don't think I'd be a huge fan of them if this hadn't happened, but they do take care of other bugs that are also unpleasant, so there's that.
True.
Kindergarten.
Oh God.
Nap time.
Okay.
I never slept because I didn't sleep.
No, you and I don't sleep during nap time.
No, we're awesome instead.
I don't even sleep at night. It's just.
And so, as per usual, I was looking up at the ceiling, and I noticed this dot. And I was like, "Huh, what is that?" Because it seemed to be like waving in the AC a little bit. And it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
God.
And then it got about a couple inches above my head. I realized that what it was a spider descending on a thread of silk.
To land on your face to kill you.
Except not just on my face.
Oh God.
Pretty much as soon as I recognized this, it completed its journey.
Oh God.
And landed on my eyeball. And
no. Oh no.
Literally as our friend from college Zan would say, right now, just reliving it, I want to peel my skin off and dance around in my bones.
Oh Lord.
As you might imagine, I had a reflexive reaction, and I closed my eye. Now,
because
Thankfully, this spider was basically the dude from Big Lebowski. He's the most chill spider ever, because it didn't bite me, which is good, because it would have been biting me on my eyeball. So it closed. The roof of the stadium retracted, and maybe this is just me remembering it, but I feel like it was stepping on my eye with all 8 feet. And so of course by this time in the middle of nap time in kindergarten, I am screaming my damn fool head off. And I literally had to take my hands and pry my eyelids open, at which point it got the hell out of Dodge, and I don't know where it went. I hope it
And
died
it's
somewhere.
still inside you.
I know, right? I hope it died somewhere peacefully while sleeping of old age, because thank you for not biting me on my eyeball, Mr. Spider. So sweet dreams, everybody.
Oh.
How you
That's
doing?
It's just the worst.
It's the worst. The worst. The worst.
It's I don't know if it's better or worse that it didn't bite you. Believe it or not.
I'm going to need you to explain that.
Because it not biting you was sort of just like an exercise of restraint, being like, yeah, I don't even have to bite you. I'll sneak into you later and kill you from inside. Like, there's something like... No, I don't like spiders, Andy.
Wow.
I don't like them. They terrify me, and I don't believe that they're up to any good. I'm glad it didn't bite you. Don't get me wrong. A spider biting you in the eye is a bad thing. You might have, although you could have like a glass eye or like a foggy eye now, if that was the case, and that would be worthy of a conversation.
Folks who are longtime fans of Second Breakfast Podcast.
Oh, you did wear a patch,
an eye patch, but that was not because of a spider bite.
That was amazing.
Yes.
I once stabbed myself in the eye with my own mechanical pencil by accident during math class. It was terrible. I have to change the subject from what you were talking about because it's the only way to survive how horrible it was. I was twirling my pencil and it literally just stabbed me in the eye. And mechanical pencils by nature are always sharp.
That's true.
So I just sat there like with my eye closed with water pouring down the side of my face with me going like this for like the last 20 minutes of class. And the girl I had a crush on at that school was in that class. You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. Nothing ever happened between us.
That's crazy.
Well, it's a crazy world.
You should have had someone stab her in the eye, and when she's crying, you hand her a handkerchief.
Which I would have had on me, and she would have been like, "Thanks for the handkerchief, old man.
Grandpa.
Can I help you across the street? Do you need?" "Yes, you can, young lady." Oh,
good. I have to go across the street anyway to meet my boyfriend, William Zabka.
Yeah, her boyfriend. That's a whole other conversation. Oh, yeah. But anyways, long story short, do you know who really intimidated me in high school?
Who's that?
All women.
Sure.
Anyways, okay. It's been good. It's been real.
Folks, Bad Demon American Quartz Club. Thanks.
Thanks for your emails.
Yeah.
And for your
chiefly
imaginative nature.
Indeed.
For which we are much grateful. I'm not sure how the listeners will take all this, but the questions were good, which meant the answers were phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's been a lovely time with each other.
We can spin gold out of nothing, but it's easier if we have a little something, and you gave us something, and we appreciate it. Folks, this will bring us to the end of another Second Breakfast podcast. For the podcast, for Phil Duvall, I am Andy Roth. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.